Hey guys, welcome back to Monday Moment, Take 10 with Jen, where I am going to talk to you today about eating your feelings. So have you ever, polished off a packet of chips and you didn't realize that you were going to do that? Have you ever opened up a packet of Tim Tams and found that before you've known it, they're completely gone? And, this is something that we all do at some point, and that type of eating is called fog eating, which I'm going to bring up in a second. So eating your feelings is something that we all do as people. It's something that we have done for as long as our brains have been developed, basically. So back in the caveman times, this wasn't something that we did as far as I'm aware of. Food was just fuel. It was just purely a means to an end. All it was a way to help us survive and a way to procreate. There wasn't these types of complications that we have these days that give us kind of stress and anxiety and mood issues that propel us to eat our feelings. And it's also because our brains were different. So back then our brains were a lot smaller. There was just the reptilian brain really that we operated out of, which was really in that we were kind of in that fight and flight mode a lot of the time, because as I said, we were really just there to survive and enhance our species. But then the front part, or the cortex part of the brain, was developed, the neocortex, and that enabled us to live as much kind of higher beings, make really complex decisions, enjoy art and music, and have these incredibly fulfilling relationships, and just do all these amazing things. But as a result, we now have to deal with so much more stuff and so many more feelings that we're grappling to find a way to kind of deal with those. And one of the ways that we deal with these feelings is to eat them. So I'm going to ask you some questions. Are you an emotional eater? Do you eat more when you're feeling stressed? Do you eat when you're not hungry or when you're full? Do you eat to feel better, to calm and soothe yourself when you're sad, mad, bored, anxious? Do you reward yourself with food? Do you regularly eat until you've stuffed yourself? Yep. Does food make you feel safe? Do you feel like food is a friend? And do you feel powerless or out of control around food? Now, you can superimpose the word drink or alcohol to this stuff as well, because it definitely applies to drinking your feelings and emotional drinking as well. So, there's 4 types of eating that I just want to quickly run through. So you've got fuel eating. So that's purely exactly as it sounds. You're eating for fuel, and that's where you're kind of eating like whole foods that are highly nutritious, foods that are designed to feed your body and your brain and to help you, do what you need to do. Now, that should be up to kind of 80% of our food. Now, we've got fun eating for fun. So that's when we're just really eating for the taste and the pleasure. And that's where you might eat some kind of chips, some chocolate. You might have some champagne. That kind of food and drink is really devoid of most nutrition, and it's usually kind of high in salts, high in sugars, high in fats. Now, we should really be doing that kind of eating only about 1 or 2 times a week if we want to have optimal health and wellness, right? But again, no judgment. Now, fog eating is a really common one, and that's that mindless eating. That's when you're kind of just going through the motions. It's quite unconscious, and all of a sudden you've polished off that packet of Tim Tams, that packet of chips, that bottle of wine, and you kind of didn't even realize it. So usually quite empty calories again, and should be done very, very much in moderation. And then you've got storm eating, which is quite out of control, like a storm, okay? So we feel like we can't control ourselves, and usually it's quite deep-seated feelings that drive that behavior. And, obviously it's beyond the scope of this live now, but this is the type, if you're doing that storm eating more than you'd like to, like more than for probably once a week or even less, then that might be, it might be time to consider getting some help, some professional help around that type of eating, because obviously then it can lead to disordered eating. Now, the irony is that the very emotions that we're trying to manage by eating them with food or drink, quite often they can actually be exacerbated and made worse by the very action that we're doing to actually feel better. We've all been there, right? You eat whatever it is, you overeat, and you all of a sudden you're actually feeling really, really sick, really guilty, you're feeling really full, ashamed, all those horrible feelings. And so you've actually given yourself some secondary feelings on top of the ones that you were trying to actually help or avoid in the first place, if that makes sense. Let me know if you've been there. Let me know if you can relate to any of this stuff. So there's a vicious cycle of emotional eating that I'll pop in the comments after this live. So basically we feel some kinds of feelings like distress or upset, some kind of painful feeling. And then we feel this overwhelming urge to eat. And then we eat a lot, and we eat the wrong food, like food that's not nutritious at all, that's high in, sugars, fats, salts, or we could be talking alcohol as well. And then at some point, straight away, the next morning, whatever it might be, we start to feel really quite guilty and ashamed that we did that. And we feel very powerless over our ability to control ourselves. And then we feel, again, feelings of distress and upset, which then possibly leads to overeating again. And it just goes around and around. Yes, exactly, Jude. Most overweight people would relate to this. And also anyone that has some kind of dependency. So I've talked a little bit before about, alcohol is something that I can, if I don't manage it and control it, turn to more than probably the food thing. So we all have our thing, we all have a way to kind of manage feelings. Hi, Danielle. So why do we do this? Why do we eat our feelings? Look, there is a whole host of reasons that are beyond the scope of this live, but I'm just going to keep it really simple. We do it because we did it once before and it worked. Period. Now, often when we do something once and it works, then we get this kind of message that, hey, that was a good thing to do. Let's do that again next time. And then over time, it just becomes like this habit that we're not even really conscious of how it started. But like everything, it's got to be moderation. So, doing it once or twice is okay. But if you find that it's a pattern that keeps coming back, then it's time to kind of do something about it. Whether that's actually seeking therapy or whether it's just taking into account some of these solutions I'm going to share now. So, solutions. So you've got to find some other ways to feed your feelings. Makes sense, right? So it's really important if you're feeling depressed or lonely or down to seek that support. Call someone who can help you to feel better in that moment besides food. Get out of the house. Do anything it takes to actually help manage that mood and help yourself feel better. At the same time, though, it's really important that you accept that these feelings are completely normal and they're okay. And even just that process of accepting them and just allowing yourself to feel those emotions. You can actually do what we call like surfing the wave of emotions. They will come and they will go, and you probably don't have to eat or drink to actually get rid of them. They will just go. But obviously you've got lots of other options, that you can do to help as well. If you're feeling really anxious, try and exert that energy in another way. So go for a run, go for a walk, move your body. If you're feeling tired, quite often we feel like we need to eat to actually give ourselves energy. Obviously that is the case most of the time, but sometimes we're actually just tired and we just need to have a cup of tea, have a lie down, go to bed early, have a bath with scented candles. And the other big one is boredom. We usually eat because we're bored, but it's really important to check in with yourself and just ask yourself, like, am I actually physically hungry right now, or am I just bored? And if I am bored, what can I do about it? And obviously you're going to then find something to do. Hi Rach, hi Leash, thanks for watching. Hi Ray, birthday girl. So another thing to do is to pause for a cause. So, just stop, take that deep breath, say to yourself, if I still feel like this in 5 minutes, then I'll go for it. Then when 5 minutes is up, maybe challenge yourself to another 5 minutes, and you might find that you've surfed that wave of the emotion and then you feel better and you don't need to do that anymore. Another thing which I talked to you about a couple of weeks ago, which is I'm having the thought that. So I'm having the thought that I need to open that packet of Tim Tams because I feel sad, and just recognizing that's how you feel. Now remember that our thoughts always come before feelings. It's never the other way around, never. There's always a thought there. So it's really important to check in with what that thought is. But if you can't find the thought, just be aware of what the feeling is and just accept it. And then once you've figured out what the feeling is, then you can do something about it, okay? Another thing is mindful eating. So if you're going to eat or drink, then do it mindfully, and that will help you to probably consume much less than if you were just in that fog style eating and it was just a free-for-all, unconsciously you've opened the packet and it's all gone. So just be really mindful, savor every bite, chew carefully, focus on what you're doing, the taste, the texture, how it's making you feel, rather than just zoning out, because that'll help you to get that control as well. And you'll probably, as I said, eat much less. And then the fourth point is just no regrets. If you find that you've done this and it's too late, you've already done it, then don't beat yourself up. It's so normal that we do this. I talked in the beginning about why we do it, and you can't really fight that. You can get some control though. So if you do something, and this applies to anything in life, right? If you've done something, just have that no regrets kind of attitude, but then remind yourself that you're going to get practice again to deal with the situation. Life is just one big massive experience, but also experiment, and we're going to get another opportunity at some point to practice responding in a different way. So just look forward to that, plan for it, and do 1% better next time, And then just always remember that you are just human, and we are complicated beings, and we do develop these really complex things, in life that are quite hard to understand and hard to break, but you can do it. So hopefully that's been helpful in some way. Thank you all for watching. If you're watching in the, thank you, Eckhart Tolle. Thanks, Jude. Oh, that's awesome. Now, if you're watching this in the replay, let me know where you're watching it from, and thank you for all your comments. It really helps, remind me that, these are important topics that we need to talk about. Hopefully it's been helpful, and I will see you all next week, if not before. Bye, guys.